Good evening, everybody. Super Sandhyagavat at the Junimasa Visipaha. So today, actually, I'll probably be conducting the session more in English. We are going to have a brainstorming session today for a very important subject for Sri Lanka as a country, if we are focused on development. That is about our university education in Sri Lanka, both quantitatively and qualitatively. How can we improve that? So this is a brainstorming session. So it's a group, and we got quite a few people joining today. And there is a more demand as well for people to talk. And therefore, we will have to have another second session, which I will announce at the end of this short presentation. So we don't underestimate any proposals, any suggestions, criticisms in a brainstorming session. And we'll discuss and we generate ideas on this particular subject. So that's the whole purpose. And so I've received several requests. Of that, I allocated 3 presentations, but I don't think we can do 3 today. So I'm really glad that 2 of our exceptional professors who's contributed so much in their lifetime for university education beyond just academia is presenting today. They will summarize their experiences. Deepthi Bandara, Professor Emeritus, and Oliver Ileperama, Professor Emeritus as well. I'm also glad Ranjan De Silva, who is a brigadier before and now a lawyer, also contributing to this, because that will show the other aspect of the coin outside the university. But since he has to go a little bit early as well, he will present next time round about his thoughts. So let's give a little background. Unfortunately, just 10 minutes ago, I lost some of the pictures that was there on data on my presentation, but I still can get the message to you. Education supports the growth of civil society, that's for sure. It supports democracy, supports political stability, supports humanity and sustainability, and so on and on. So education is a must for all of us. So why we need to increase the quantitative, the numbers who get university education in Sri Lanka? Just I will summarize, I analyzed the data, but I had a chart which I could not present now. On average, 50 to 65% of advanced level students qualify for university entry. So they at least get minimum qualifications for university entry in Sri Lanka at the A levels. But unfortunately, out of the total number of students who are sitting the advanced level examination, only 5% or roughly about 5 to 6% are admitted, despite all the commitments that's given by various governments to the national. So if you look at the data from 1990 to 2017, I analyzed the UGC data, and the story is the same. There isn't much of a difference. And the rest, that means the 90% of the students who does not get admitted to the university have to not only pay for free education, but at the same time, they don't have any other opportunities given by the government, or at least allowed. So lots of people go abroad, lots of people do better sometimes going abroad and making their way to very high levels, which we can talk later. Then there is a need to enhance the quality of university education. Now, quality matters. I'll show you why. Now, take a perfect example today, okay? Now, in the world, now artificial intelligence has taken off very fast. It's a very important subject for the whole world. The thing is, it may be able to utilize for many things, including, say, tapping into corruption that we need in Sri Lanka, tapping into tax affairs, saying who is not paying tax, tapping into various things like, false certificates, false locations, etc., etc. So artificial intelligence has a huge potential. But none of the national universities offer anything like it, or I don't know whether they even thought about forming a BSc degree in artificial intelligence. But even then, so let's assume that somebody thought about this today in a national university in Sri Lanka today. So you got to go to the faculty board with your proposal. Then it goes up and down every month for 3 or 4 months. Then it goes to the academic committee. They will usually meet every 2 months or something, or 3 months, and that will go again 1 or twice. Then goes to the Senate, needs approval, again, some revisions, then goes to the council, then goes to the university standing committee, who generally are very senior people and administrators. Maybe if you invited people, may be there, who may not even had any chance to think about this kind of subject. Then it goes to the university handbook, then the students come in and then qualify. So it will take all this process about 10 years before the first student qualifies with this BSc program. So then in 10 years time, what this student learns as artificial intelligence will not be compatible because it's advancing so fast. So you can see our problem. So university UGC hierarchy is sometimes an obstacle for innovative programs like this. Universities need more automaticity so that they can develop their programs quickly and offer it quickly. And so at present, UGC has been more or less a money granting body. It makes no financial adjustments to the student popularity. So it just gives the money based on the number allocated on the university handbook. And no financial adjustments to student numbers in place. This happens with new universities where you have, say, 50 spaces for a particular course. 10 students will go there, but the whole money for the 50 students will be allocated to the university. So that even when they're not in demand, still the money comes to the national universities. No universities ranking within the country to promote quality and quantity. University establishment more political, is becoming more political rather than to suitability demand. Say, for example, the university should have key performance indicators. They are standard, it should be there. None of this thing is taken into account in the university. Instead, we will see something like that. Unemployable graduates in the country, some courses, they can't get jobs. So who is responsible? The government is responsible for this situation because teaching has not been upgraded, or the mechanisms is not there to upgrade the teaching to make sure that the graduates are employable. Then say, this is from UGC, I just took a picture this morning. Here they have opening another university, University of Vaunia. Now, usually these proposals are political. You have to see whether the facilities are there for the students, facilities are there for the lecturers, and other teaching facilities, etc. It's not easy. There's no talk anywhere in this site about KPIs. KPIs means the key performance indicators. This is another problem. Ragging is people, I don't know the number of students killed, I think 12 or 13 so far. Ugly violence in Sri Lanka public universities. But why can't we stop this? Because there's a political background to it. And everybody knows this, nobody says it, but that's the problem. At the moment, it's got so bad that fear of ragging stops some students coming in. So they just spend the money wherever they can get it from and go abroad. And that's happening that as well now. So our national universities are functioning on the basis of 1970 of University Act number 16. So curricular modification is hierarchy dependent. Quality assurance of courses was established like 10 years ago, but there's no student feedback to it. No student feedback, no alumni feedback. So it's not a proper quality assurance thing. And passive, there's no competition between the universities. So quality of education, no feedback for the students. Funding is not based on the performance or student numbers, but a quota. Say certain universities, if they're getting popular because they have better programs, they don't get a chance to expand their programs because they are in demand. So no foreign students virtually, but this is something very important. The best universities in the world have about 30% of their student numbers as foreign students. And then they pay 3 times more than the course fees. And that's actually the income for the universities. Not only that, when those students go out, they know the quality of the program in the particular university, so that they spread the news. Say, for example, take today's Sri Lanka's doctors. Most of them come to England. Why? Because most of the trainees who's trained in England has gone back. So they send them more and more here. So that's the kind of thing that you have. Staffing, the recruitment process as well as retention is at stake. It's also not that competitive. Once you get in there, after 3 years probation, you are there. Innovation and research, there's quite a lot to improve. And also the space that we have. A lot of money is allocated to maintain the buildings and various other facilities, but they're not allocated in a more utilizable way. And if you see the number of hours, virtually any department use 100% of the time of their building capacity. So the poor entrepreneurial links as well. So there are lots of things that the national university are facing at the moment. So basically, it's an out-of-date paradigm what we have at the moment. And any change also people suggest get blocked by other politicized people. So that's the issue. I was thinking of just mentioning a few things about a good university. There'll be graduates of a good university usually get headhunted when they qualify. Within 2 or 3 months, they all got jobs. Foreign students take the message across, and there's a huge demand by foreign students who come in. The popular subjects are usually the ones that are propagated in good universities. Curricula get updated as soon as possible when there is a change. I will tell you now, the General Medical Council, for example, changed the doctors' educational requirements last year, just a year ago. And now all universities have changed their curricula to upgrade the needs for the current registration requirements. I don't know whether any of the medical universities in Sri Lanka has thought about even revising the curriculum so that we will not be laid back when it comes to the competition. So good learning environment is important, good teachers are important, quality assurance is important, peaceful environment, research output, and the funding should be adequate. So there are lots of things that needs a good university. I'm sure our speakers will talk about that. And I thought I'll take you back to C.W. Kannanga, Honorable C.W. Kannanga's proposal. He was the chairman of the committee that submitted the free education bill for a vote in the state council. So he was considered the father of the free education in Sri Lanka. He had 5 things in his request in this proposal. One is education should be free from kindergarten to the university. We probably achieved that. The mother tongue should be used as the medium of instruction in the primary schools. English should be taught in all schools from standard 3. So this was essential requirements in this bill, but there are through other things which we have totally forgotten. A curriculum for the child to develop its head, heart, and hands. More important, but never focused in our universities. Education of the emotions, education of the intellect, and practical ability for well-being. So there are still, we have few parts missing in the university. So, and also he proposed free education, but he didn't say that it is also to curtail freedom for education, where we've seen where certain programs were protested and curtailed and even stopped in Sri Lanka when they started to work with private funding, because without national funding. So it's almost a crime to start an education program with private funding at the moment. So how can we come out of this problem and enhance university education in Sri Lanka, both quantitatively and qualitatively? I'm glad Professor Deepti Bandara and Professor Oliya Ulekirama is here. Ranjan is also here, but he will speak next time, and we can have a discussion based on these 2 presentations. Because of the demand, we will do a second session on 9th of July and discuss what kind of solutions we can come out so that we can study what's been discussed today and also come out with this. Hopefully, we should be able to write a blueprint. Blueprint means kind of an outline, putting together, saying what can be done to improve certain aspects, so that the blueprint we will upload to our website. So it will be freely available for anybody to use in the future. So we will not be wasting our time just talking. That's the idea. So I'll stop there, and I will invite Professor Deepthi Mandara to talk. I think you are a co-host already, Deepthi.
All right. Okay, let me check this. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it. Thank you.
Can see?
Yeah.
Quality assurance of higher education in Sri Lanka. Okay, thanks, Chula. So I think you gave a really good backdrop to what we have at the moment. And I think I'm, touching on one of those things that you had on your slide, which is on quality assurance, and which I'm, quite familiar with at the moment for higher education in Sri Lanka. Okay, so here we go. Right. As a preamble, I wrote that a quality higher education system inevitably leads to the development of a country. And therefore, the strategic priority of Sri Lanka, which is currently suffering from a massive economic crisis, should be to achieve quality in our higher education system. Even though the results will not be evident instantly, we cannot expect things to happen overnight. It will be an investment which will eventually lead the country to a better position. And as you know, and as Chula showed just now, we've had a lot of investment on free education from the 1940s. However, it is quite sad to note that the returns on investment on higher education is pretty minimal and actually very low. So let's see what we can do. And basically what I'm trying to show is what happened to university education's quality from the past to the present. And the slides that I'm showing today are actually from a concept paper that a few of us generated on the request of the Ministry of Education. So we all know that in Sri Lanka, the state has been the only provider of higher education for most part of our history. However, we also know, as Chula showed, that the capacity for state university placements is really limited. And therefore, every time we've had the A-level examinations, the students, the numbers who get the minimum qualifications of 3 S's exceed the number of placements by quite a big margin. And therefore, that they cannot actually secure placement in the state universities. We have 17 at the moment. So we also know that some students who are from probably affluent families had the opportunity to go abroad and study and get into programs if they miss the opportunity in Sri Lanka. However, we also know that, a majority of families and students cannot afford this alternative option, and therefore that they are prevented from actually securing a university education. So that basically probably points to the fact that the access to education is not addressed fully, although the University Grants Commission says that they increase the numbers every year, and I think they do. So to overcome this situation, at least partially, and to provide higher education opportunities, in the late 1980s, some non-state higher education providers came into the picture. And by late 1990, this sector actually kind of grew. And now, of course, we have a lot of private sector degree awarding institutes that have sprung up to meet this rising demand in higher education. Now, having said that, when I say that they are, that they have sprung up, that does not necessarily mean that, somebody actually said, okay, you're good, you go ahead and start an institute, but they're there. So, as per the university statistics of 2021, published by the UGC, Although 62.57 of the students who sat the GCA level examinations were eligible, around 23% only received admission to our universities. And thereby, a majority of them could not enter state education, and they were compelled, if they could not go abroad, to to look out for non-state higher education institutes, which I have abbreviated as NSHEIs. Now, this, however, provided an opportunity for, I would feel, even medium income families to have their children educated at a considerably low cost compared to somebody who would go abroad, because that actually is really expensive. And also this offered the opportunity for some foreign universities to have local institutions affiliated to them. So this now has brought about a scenario where we have the state universities, we have non-state higher education institutes, and we also have certain foreign universities who have their affiliated local counterparts. So basically speaking, we are now talking about 4 prominent categories of higher education providers in Sri Lanka. We have the state universities, 17, as I said at the moment. Then we also have universities established by an act of parliament, such as the Ocean University. Then we have the Pali and Buddhist University, then the Kotalavala Defense University, and 2 others, which I can't remember at the moment. And then we do have this degree awarding non-state higher education institutions such as SLIT, SINEC, like so forth. And also a few higher education institutes affiliated to foreign universities. SLIT and this ICBT, they also are affiliated. They do have affiliations with them also, but they do offer local degrees. So they belong to the 3rd as well as the 4th categories. But like, for example, APIT is a higher education institution affiliated to foreigners. So we have all 4 operational at the moment. But what I want to highlight is that the regulation of the quality of the higher education provision are by different authorities at the moment. So just to highlight, the 17 universities in Sri Lanka come under which are under the purview of the University Grants Commission. Their quality assurance is done by the UGC through a council known as the Quality Assurance Council. And since I served as the director of the council for 4 years, I'm pretty aware of what they do. And actually, this mechanism started in 2004, and we did gain a bit of momentum on QA activities. And through projects sponsored by the World Bank, the UGC, or the Ministry of Education, was able to come up with 2 kind of good manuals, which are now used to evaluate the universities, which is called the institutional reviews, and the programs offered by them, which are called the program reviews. So that's the quality assurance aspect of our state universities. Now, to take it a little bit further, the first cycle of the quality assurance of universities was carried out from 2015 till 2022. And it so happened that out of the 17, only 3 ranked A. Okay. Several ranked B, but quite a number ranked C. So people were not pleased. People were really not pleased with me at all, because I kind of, said, no, we still need to go on with this. And just now they have started the second cycle. And although the first few of these institutional reviews were done through panels, which comprised of our professors from the state university system, I suggested to the chairman, Professor Mohan De Silva at the time, that we need to bring in some international reviewers to the panels. So through the World Bank project, which was operating at the time, we were able to fund one international reviewer per panel per institute. And I myself went as a panelist after I left the UGC with them. And I figured that the way they rate, even when using our manual, was quite different. And therefore, that, you know, they were very objective, and many a times, even if all our panel members would go for a B, they will probably not agree. So, which really brought to light that, you know, even though we had this, you know, pretty good two manuals, that what we thought was quality was not actually quality at an international level. And by this time, I was also participating in some international conferences on quality assurance. And in each one of them, I figured this is the truth. And also, at the same time, we floated the program reviews of our state universities. And I told the chairman, we need to take one discipline at a time. And as the first round, we took the social science and humanities. And if I can remember correct, there were 54 programs of social science and humanities offered by our state universities. The panels comprised our state university professors, and yeah, they all had a PhD. And it so happened that out of the 54, only 3 ranked A, only 3. Some of it landed at a B, but the majority landed with a C, and some fell all the way down to a D. So this is now with our local reviewers, and this is our programs. And so that was the situation. So of course, arts faculties were really mad at me, but that's the truth. Now, at the same time, the non-state sector or the non-state higher education division of the ministry contacted me and said that they would also like to have a QA mechanism built so that they can monitor the degree awarding institutes, a status granted by the Ministry of Education. And at the moment, there is no proper mechanism to monitor them. Only at the very beginning, when they propose an institute or propose a program, they come up with a review panel who go through the proposal and say, yeah, okay, they can be given a DAI or degree awarding institute status, or that they can float such and such a program. And like from 2020, the ministry also appointed another committee, a technical advisory committee, which I was chairman of. And we came up with some minimum standards that should be complied with if anyone wanted to have a degree awarding institute. Now, the unfortunate thing about this whole thing is that 2020, the TAC came up with the minimum standards. It went through the Corona, COVID, or whichever period lull. And yet, 4 years later, it still is not gazetted. So I'm getting very frustrated, you know, because we put in a lot of work, and the minimum standards are there, and they are not gazetted. So I really don't know what's going on, who's delaying, and how we can proceed. But we believe that if these minimum standards are adopted, that the quality assurance of the DAIs granted by the ministry might be, you know, of some value. Now, the universities that are established under an act of parliament, which are currently coming under the purview of the relevant line ministry, there is no mechanism. There is no mechanism for QA in those institutes. And also those which are affiliated to overseas universities, there's no regulatory body. I believe, their parent university elsewhere keeps an eye on them, or they have their own QA mechanism, which they probably implement here also. So in this backdrop, what we actually see are a number of unregulated degree programs offered in Sri Lanka, which should be of high concern to all of us. Now, these programs, only thing I need to say, since I have seen almost all the programs in the state as well as the non-states change programs quickly. Like they do have cybersecurity, they do have artificial intelligence and all of that stuff. But as Chula said, it's a slow process with the state universities. They don't come up that fast, and the procedure is time consuming. So actually, this has been happening for a while now, and way back 10 years or more, to address this dire need, in 2011, the government decided to introduce a new piece of legislation, which meant that this is a bill. What was proposed is a bill on higher education called the Quality Assurance and Accreditation Bill. And it was, composed, looked at by the legal draftsman department, made consultations with UGC, consultations with ministry, consultations with many people, but never saw the light of day. So I think end of last year, the ministry again called these few members, I was one of them, and said, okay, revisit this bill. The president is keen. He has allocated 100 million to set this up. Right. Okay, so we got into business again. And look, revisited the bill, and actually, to be honest, I thought it was in pretty good shape even then. So section 56, as you can see on the screen, it talked about the definition of a higher education provider, who it would be, and whom can you call a higher education provider, and likewise. So I think it was quite a comprehensive piece of legislation that addressed the regulation and the quality assurance of different types of higher education providers, institutions, programs, so on and so forth. Now, one of the things which made it, which blocked it, is, I think I'm correct here, every time that this legislation gets to the parliament or whichever, the person who appoints the commission becomes the minister. And FUTA, that is our union in the state universities, objected. I would personally want to object also. So in the new setup with this new committee that met end of last year and beginning of this year, we suggested we actually change the composition of the commission and said, okay, let the members be appointed by the Constitutional Council. It went to Parliament. And what I hear is that everything that we proposed in the revisit was accepted, other than the fact that still the minister wants to appoint the members. So now it's still there. So what we proposed was that this commission to act as the apex body for quality assurance and accreditation at national level. Now, I believe there are only gentlemen in this group, and I would like for you to know there is no accreditation of programs in Sri Lanka other than the medical programs which are accredited by, I think, the Medical Council, and the engineering by the ISL, And, other than the professional programs, there is no other accreditation body in this country. But we do now have a qualifications framework, which tells like, okay, level 5 is a general degree, level 6 is an honors degree, and likewise up until level 12, which is a PhD. And these are the outcomes that you want at each level. So that piece of document, that's there. Yet again, that document is still not approved in the parliament. So I'm not very sure, where we are heading. Why is it that the country's constitution or the parliament or whoever who supposed to control this country, not giving us the green light? So that's why I kind of, wanted to make this presentation so that you probably would know as to what's going on. So in the bill that was there, the powers and functions of the commission are cited. Then the divisions of the commission are cited. Who will do what is there, and it's elaborate. And in my mind, it covers just about everything such a commission should do. So I don't know who actually thinks that this will not work, but I know that right now the UGC is opposing this, because I was also called for a meeting with the state minister of education, who I believe is now in charge of education, and UGC vehemently opposed the establishment of this commission. So what they say is, no, we will look after the state university. You do whatever you like with the others. But what the committee believes is that there should be a national level regulator, just like all developed countries and all developing countries around us. Bhutan, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Indonesia, they were all behind us, but now really, really ahead of us. So, gentlemen, we really need to do something and, get this going. The justification is that if we want to make full use of the potential by a well-educated workforce that meets its development needs, then the quality of higher education must be increased rapidly. Of course, we know that, the provision of higher education is not something that could be done like that. But then a concerted effort has to be made to improve its quality. I hasten to add, there are several programs of real high quality, really, really good. And I think they will stand very well against international accreditation. But majority and more are not there. Therefore, if we want to expand, we cannot ignore the quality of the education that we offer. We have minimum standards now proposed for institutes. We have minimum standards proposed for programs. Who can be admitted, who cannot be admitted, what kind of space this program would need, and what kind of staff, what kind of teaching methods, what kind of assessments, all of that stuff we have gone through and brought in international good practice. Everything is there. We really sweated on this, and I'm really sad that it's not moving. So therefore, in the absence of a national level regulator, it's going to be a serious issue which we need to address soon, really soon. And we hope, at least this committee, this small committee, hope that enacting this proposed bill might do something to assure the quality of our universities and programs. And to be honest, I see that some of the degree awarding institutes now actually are attracting many more students than the state university programs. They're doing really well. Sadly, also, these institutes are not yet permitted to use the term university. Maybe there's some background to that. But there must be some mechanism as to how they can graduate to be a university. And that should be worked on. And, all higher education providers should be looked at from the same point of view, and not to be considered as a secondary option where people go if you don't get into state universities. No, it should not be that case. That it should be equivalent providers. And if we can come to that, and there's a healthy competition among our state universities and these other providers, I think we will really do good to our students and increase their bargaining power to select a program and an institute where they think they can be what they want to be, and contribute to the economy of this country. So basically speaking, that's about all that I would like to say. But of course, I know a lot of detail about the minimum standards and how they operate and how the state universities operate and all of that stuff. So one of the things that I do see is that there's differential treatment to people. And even at this moment, all the evaluations of the proposed non-state education institutes are done by state university personnel. And I brought in selection criteria where we could open it up to many people, to all individuals who could serve as an evaluator of an institute or a program. And I hope it will get through, because when called to train people, I noticed that some of our colleagues in the state universities come with the mindset, we are not going to let this through, meaning that no, they are very much opposed to non-state higher education, and they come with their mindset, no, we will not approve this program or this institute. So it's difficult, and I seriously don't know how to break through this one. And that's why I thought, okay, Chula, give me this opportunity. I need to tell this to other people. So all developed countries have a national regulatory body like the one that I have just now discussed. And it's a mandatory requirement for any higher education provider to be, registered in one of them, and also obtain international recognition. And I think if we do that, there's a good opportunity of attracting foreign students, because I must say that a majority, or at least half of the academic staff of our state universities are brilliant, no doubt. So give them the opportunity to teach, with an international background. And that might even attract reputed foreign universities to set up, research centers or institutes or campuses in Sri Lanka, which will do a lot of good to all our students. And later on work on some scholarship, or some kind of mechanism where students who cannot afford can apply for scholarship or loan or grant, or something like that, where many students who go abroad get that opportunity to get a loan and study and pay back. So I think that's about all I would like to say at the moment. And what we are pushing for is this entity at a national level, with very people. The commission members should be of really high integrity and not bow down.
Deepthi, we can't hear you. I think she's still there.
Let me see. My internet connection is unstable at the moment. Did you lose a lot of what I was telling?
Yeah, we can hear now. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay. So clearly setting a national standard in the country for all the education providers will help to reduce any doubt and controversy surrounding private higher education, for one, and also bring about equality in quality in all higher education providers. I hope you didn't lose much of what I was saying. Did you, Chula?
I think fantastic. This just reflects your experience and the commitment as a academic for years and years and years. So you can bring the slides down if you want to. You can see the others as well. Then the what you mentioned, say quality assurance should be independent. At the moment, it's not independent, isn't it?
No. Yeah, that's one of the biggest criticism that we have, that our state universities are, the quality assurance mechanism is by the state itself. All the state universities are under the UGC, and the UGC is doing the quality assurance activities for them. So it's not right.
That's correct. So that's one of the things that you need to achieve. The quality assurance has to be independent, isn't it? Then it can apply to both private universities and state universities equally.
Absolutely.
So that's number one thing that we might get as a lesson from you. And the second one is, there is obviously, we've seen it years and years and years, there is a conflict of interest between politicians and the academics. And I mean, it's been there for years. Politicians don't really support education, although they say so. I mean, there was one time 1% of the GDP was given for education in the country, and the university staff went on strike for 3 months and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of situation we have. So obviously there's a conflict of interest, because higher the education, better the politicians would be. The chances of crooks getting there is going to get lower if people are more educated. That's one of the main conflicts of interest. Any other way of getting, I mean, what you suggested, like, giving a loan like the other universities abroad, where the students get a loan, it would be still a free education, but the students pay it back once they qualify, which will probably be a fair mechanism, because that actually give more accountability, number one. Number two, it will also be an answer for our brain drain, because at the moment you spend public money to train someone and they've gone, so they don't serve the country anymore. So that will answer the problem, because if they are paid for your education, why not? Because you can educate 2 more out of that money if they are paying it back. So there is a place to change the way the university students are funded. Still can be free education, but it is only fair and just that you ask them to pay the cost back once they start working after qualification.
Actually, that kind of mechanism prevailed when we were students, Chula. I remember, many students went for this loan, and they actually paid back, as you say, when they got a job.
Yeah, I got a loan as well, but that was mainly for your student existence, not for the course.
Not for tuition, I see.
Not for tuition. And I paid it at, well, I mean, I remember a number very well. 777 was my number, loan number. So that's, we paid all of that back. So, but that was good, but that was not for the course fees. It was for only the accommodation and so on. That's how you got the loan.
I see. But still, I guess somebody could work out, the minimal cost for a program, and, maybe even, request the student to pay a percentage depending upon the economic status of that student.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, these are political issues.
Can you bring your slides down? Then you can see the others as well. Janta Javadhan has raised hand as well.
Yes, Professor Janta. Yeah.
You need to bring your slides down.
You mean stop sharing?
Yeah.
All right, got it.
That's good. Great. so you can see your people. Yeah, good. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Professor, yeah, go ahead.
Deepti, thank you very much. Just to add to what you said regarding the Sri Lanka Medical Council, as you said, as far as the medical undergraduate and postgraduate programs are concerned, especially the undergraduate one, MBBS programs, the academic side is looked after by the UGC and whatever recognition granted. But as far as the professional side is concerned, legally, the Sri Lanka Medical Council is empowered to do the necessary accreditation and recognition. And as you are aware, you mentioned it about the minimum standard. As far as the medical programs are concerned, the minimal standard regulation was gazetted about maybe about 3 years ago. And also recently, well, not very recent, maybe about 1.5 years ago, the Medical Council established a special section called the Accreditation Division, and that was accredited by recognized by the World Federation of Medical Education. So therefore, we are in the recognized list, the Sri Lanka Medical Council Accreditation Unit. So as a result of that, any undergraduate program at the moment only for undergraduate programs accredited by the Sri Lanka Medical Council Accreditation Division will get automatic recognition in many of the many countries overseas. Thank you.
Okay, so I believe, Prof, then, even if this apex body is operational, then if you do have this arm with the international medical accreditation, then it will be pretty easy, Okay, so you're a part of accreditation, and you're also now registered under this apex body, and it will be a smooth thing to do.
Yeah, right? And also as far as you referred to this bill, we suggested another extra paragraph for some kind of a modification in which we have, because in the original gazetted one, it was stated that they will invite certain recommendations and the suggestions from the Sri Lanka Medical Council as far as the medical programs are concerned, but they were not binding, but we suggested. I hope these things have been accommodated.
I think it was accommodated even in the latest version.
As far as the medical programs are concerned, when decisions are taken for the recognition or whatever, it has to be done by agreement of both parties, that is the Accreditation Commission and also the Sri Lanka Medical Council. If there's any disagreement regarding the final decision, then of course there has to be a dialogue and come to some kind of a consensus. I hope that will be accommodated in the modified bill.
No, it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Vasant, I see you having your hand up. Vasant?
Yeah, Vasant Atkorla, he's there, raised hand, yeah. He can go, yeah, thank you.
Economics aspect, right?
Yes.
Right. Actually, I noticed two aspects here. One is the state universities. The state university, one of the biggest issue that we are having, whether it is possible to be happy with the quantity and quality of the state universities at the moment. To me, no. Why? That is what I believe, right? There is no self-motivational mechanism for the state universities to show a significant growth or development, right?
Correct.
Now, at the moment, I know that Professor Deepti and others, their team were trying hard to improve the quality, but still, I don't know the impact of those things. What I personally believe that most of the universities are trying to maintain the document to show them to get the higher grade or whatever, right? That is why I'm always believing that we need to have some kind of self-motivational mechanism to for the state universities, right? Individual universities. If it is so, then individual universities are trying to, develop, right? They are whatever the curricular program or whatever, right? That's the first thing. The second thing that I want to highlight, the private universities. I actually, this is a good move, right? Having the private universities, but the way that is functioning at the moment is having some serious issues. I
Correct.
noticed some of the universities, they are giving degree based on the assignments, and there are some places you can get, assignment written. It's a matter of paying money. Then those people are writing the, assignments, and students are submitting those assignments to the universities. They are getting the degree. That is not the ultimate purpose of expanding the higher education in the country by
Got it.
giving license to the private sector, right? Now, I think we need to attend to that as well. Just I give you one, one way of doing that. When you are issuing the license to the private universities, you should give them the target. Say, for example, within 5 years, you need to attract 20% of your students, foreign students, right? Then 80% is domestic students, 20% is an arbitrary number, I am saying, right? Then they have some kind of targets. It's good for the country. I mean, in terms of foreign exchange and so on, it's good. Likewise, rather than just giving license for the private universities, in one way there should be a monitoring mechanism. On the other hand, there should be some kind of we should think how those universities are contributing to develop the human capital within the country, as well as the attract more, money or whatever, right? Foreign exchange.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the 2 points I want to.
Yeah, thanks, Vasanta. Actually, that second one, I'm happy to say it has been included in the minimum standards, the internationalization plans of such DAIs. Yeah, so that's there. And the first one about the self-motivation, definitely true. Like I still don't know how UGC, comes up with those cutoff points for different universities. On what basis? On what basis? I mean, is it historical that they send the better ones to Colombo and then to Peradeniya and then likewise? No, it shouldn't be the case. It should be on the performance of each university and their program. That is the way to attract students. But at the moment, I don't think that is what is happening. UGCs, they just come up with some cutoff points for Rajarata this much, Peradeniya this much, likewise. So I could be wrong, but I think that's the way they do.
Yeah, you're right. The Z-score is a sham. It's no longer applicable. It shouldn't be really. It's not quite right for Sri Lanka anymore. It may have been in 1975 or 74 when it was introduced, but not now. So what you said was what we discussed is absolutely true. And Lakshman, you have raised the hands as well, Lakshman, yes.
Thank you, Jula. Thank you, Deepthi, for the excellent presentation.
Thanks, Ross.
I value all your ideas and comments and proposals. And so it's up to the political sector to make sure that they are implemented. I agree with one point in your presentation. You said our academic staff are brilliant. I agree with it, quite frankly, because I think if you look at our university system, if you go through the websites of our university staff, most of them have foreign degrees. I think 80% of them have degrees from developed countries. Yeah, US, Europe, Australia, Canada, 80% of them. You can check it. They are all very good people who has come back to Sri Lanka and contributed to improve our education system. But I will try to link it to the UGC marking scheme for lecturers. The marking scheme is about 20 years old.
Yeah.
With some patchwork in between, but it never promotes innovation. It never promotes innovation. You mean marks are given for research publications, true. That's how I became a professor also. But hardly, I mean, there are few marks for patents, but that sector is completely undermined. But if you are given the chance, our academic staff can do, unexpectedly marvelous things if you include properly into the UGC marking scheme. They have the ability to do it, but they simply focus on research publications because
Yeah.
they to raise marks. So this I have been telling this to several UGC chairpersons, but that is something Deepthi, if you can bring the attention.
Yeah, because, like I think even coming up with patents and commercialization and
Yeah.
these things now, actually all other universities in the rest of the world, these are criteria for evaluating staff. So I don't know, we
Yeah.
are really kind of, lagging or
Because
slow.
we are limited to the academic publications only. I mean, mostly. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
So innovation is not promoted, right? Not promoted enough.
Yeah.
They will come to the private sector.
Right now, I think the state universities have established some business linkage cell and
Yeah,
something like
all that is there, but again, they have not gone into the marking scheme.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, many times I figure that, to make a change, it takes forever. I
I know.
don't think we can waste all that time now.
Now, a good success example of the private universities is this NSB or Green University, right? Omagama. I mean, they are doing quite well. I have some experience. I think more than 50% of the students qualifying for higher education leave Sri Lanka and go for foreign universities. More than half, I think. Probably Kapila could elaborate on these numbers. So we are spending, huge amount of our foreign exchange, sending out dollars to educate these people. So there's a huge potential to develop these facilities in Sri Lanka, like Malaysia did. We missed that chance in the 70s, 80s, and Malaysia took that chance, and then later Bangladesh, Nepal, and whatever. So they cater to a lot of these foreign students in the higher education sector. And the other problem with Sri Lankan situation is everybody after A-level or O-level, A-level seek to enter the universities. That is their main ambition because there are hardly any other avenues developed. For example, professional or vocational, I mean, they are there, but not sufficient. If you take a plumber or motor mechanic, I mean, they are mostly self-learned people. We don't give them 1 year, 2 year diplomas and for certificates. So if you can expand this professional training schemes, avenues, there'll be less pressure on the university education. That is another point. And for why can't we attract foreign students? I think the agriculture faculty had a scheme of foreign students.
Yeah.
Limited. We don't have hostel facilities. That is the number one problem. And also through our ambassadors, I mean, the diplomatic missions, we should try to encourage, getting foreign students into Sri Lanka. And also curriculum updating. I now something is happening. This quality framework and all that, those are very positive steps. And another thing, why unemployment in Sri Lanka among graduates? Because our graduates, when they go abroad, they do very well. Undergraduates and postgraduates, they do very well. And some of them have, companies, successful businesses. So why they perform poor in Sri Lanka? I think one of the reasons is we have a very poor private sector. The private sector wants the universities to train their workforce. Universities are not there to do that, right? So there should be a private sector who can recruit our students and give their in-service training or whatever and employ them. So it's not happening in Sri Lanka. We have a very weak private sector in that respect compared to South Korea or even compared to India, very poor private sector. And this one of my observations, Sri Lanka is probably the only country where we don't have a postdoctoral positions in the universities. It's postdocs, right? It's not in the UGC, not in the cadre.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So, yeah, so that is another missing steps. So which limits the R&D and commercialization activities in country. That R&D and commercialization phase is missing in Sri Lanka. So we end up with research, publications, get our professorships, and nothing goes beyond that. Even to get a patent, I mean, there is no proper place to go, and that phase is missing in Sri Lanka. Postdoctoral positions and also R&D and commercialization. And brain drain, if we can convert it into brain gain, like Korea did many years ago, and India is doing now. Brain drain. I mean, it has to be a dynamic situation where educated people go out and come back. So dynamic situation. So these are the few points that I want to.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay, Lakshman, they are not few points, they are huge points that we can talk for hours to get it one by one. Anyway, we'll try to take all these things up for the next sessions as well. Kapila has raised hands and Oliver has to do his presentation also. Kapila, you can take 5 minutes and then we'll go to Oliver.
And I just pick on what Lakshman said. Actually, the innovation is not there because of the promotion scheme. That is true. And the UGC is trying to do බල්ලගේ වැඩි පුරෝතර ඒක හින්දා තමයි මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Actually, I mean, they are trying to generalize the promotion scheme across faculties, whereas this is not possible. You see, if you look at the arts faculty, what is the innovation they can make other than, very few innovations for them? Mathematics, what is the innovation they can come up with other than, solving equations? So they have to develop different promotional schemes for different subject areas. And as long as this is not happening and UGC is trying to generalize everything, including administration, including recruitments, I think we are going to have the same problem, I think, for the rest of our lives.
No, you're right. The recruitment and retention of academic staff is one big issue as well, which we will talk. I think it's a big subject as well. So let's ask Oliver if he can make this presentation so we can finish on time and then take it up again. Yeah, good. We can see it now.
You can see it now. Okay.
Yeah.
I am going to talk about something entirely different. I mean, these are from my years of experience of teaching and education, undergraduate education. Of course, Deepthi talked about the legal and the administrative aspects of improving quality of education. What I am going to talk about are two different things which Chula also mentioned briefly, which however you can have any amount of evaluation of the courses and so on. But there are some other factors which our university authorities should think about. Of course, quality depends on the quality of the undergraduates and the quality of academic staff, as well as the adequate infrastructure. Now, these are the problems which can hamper the interest of students to study and so on. One factor is students have to wait for more than one year at least, and sometimes about 2 years for admission to universities. And because of that, people who can go to these private tutories, actually I call them private tutories, these affiliated unrecognized degree awarding institutions. And those who can afford go to numerous private universities in a foreign country. And I think Deepthi also mentioned some politicians are not interested in this. Why? Because their children are probably studying abroad. Now, another point, how to improve the quality of university education. Has anyone considered the need to reduce the entry age of undergraduates and also the graduating age? So I have put these proposals
in several fora, newspapers, I have written to the ministers, but nothing has happened. Now, if you look at India, students enter the universities when they are 17 to 18 and graduate when they are about 21, 22. Whereas our average year of age at graduation is about 25, at least minimum, or up to 27. By then, we have lost a young person who could contribute to our local economy, because by 27 they will be interested in marriage and having children and all that. So I have given certain proposals. Now this is schooling starting from 4 years. Actually in France it is 3 years. There are some so-called educationists who feel that students, children should not be sent to schools before 5 years. That is all nonsense, I think. And GC O-level curriculum can be reduced to 2 years. And several years back, all the science faculties got together and proposed that biological and physical streams at the A level should be combined. That is, all students in the sciences offer physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics. And then somebody who is close to the former President Chandrika went and told her, no, we will have 3 subjects, and I know the history, but I don't want to dwell too much on it. And make mathematics compulsory for all students at the GC advanced level. Now the problem is those who do economics, for example, severely disadvantaged due to this lack of mathematics knowledge. For example, in the USA, an economic degree would involve half the courses would be in mathematics, calculus, and so on. And so this is a major impediment for advances in the arts stream. And also the release of GC A-level results within 2 months. Now, after the A-level examination is held, due to marking is complete within about 1 month, and the UGC takes about 7 months to release the results with all their personal computers and so on. And this is really a tragedy, because we have to, ideally, we should have the A-level in December and admit the students to universities next September. It has been done earlier. Even after having a practical examination, in my own case, I sat for A-level in December. Practicals were held during the April vacation and admitted to the university in September. So that's how I graduated when I was 22 years. So, this is something, and I have given these proposals, which are, of course, no one has paid any attention to it, but these are things which you need to improve the quality of the undergraduates, how well they are prepared for studies and so on. Other factor, I think you will have also mentioned this, need to totally eradicate ragging. I don't think any vice chancellor other than the one at VC Ruhuna who has stopped this, because they are so scared of students, and they will say, oh, we'll take strong action, but then they do exactly the opposite in the university. And the government too has to be blamed. Now, when ragging cases are brought to the police, they want to treat them as, I know this from my personal experience, as a clash between 2 student groups. Now, there is a strong anti-ragging act which they don't use. And also the Attorney General Now, there was a case of 7 agriculture students, I think 7, who got caught by the police and the university security at an outhouse outside the University of Peradeniya. Now, when they were remanded for a few, maybe 2 or 3 weeks and released. And the university council consisting of academics and even the dean of that faculty was pushing for their reinstatement. So how can you maintain discipline in universities like this? Even the Attorney General has still not taken any action to prosecute these students. I asked the Vice Chancellor one day, he said the Attorney General has to take some action. And academic staff are, of course, not committed to, stop ragging. There's some barrier or something that stops them from doing that. Maybe they are scared of this, the rag leaders, and the university should implement the 80% attendance rule and deregister students who cannot maintain minimum GPA. So these things should happen unless you have discipline and stop these ragging and so on. We cannot talk about implementing the quality assurance in our system. Now, and also I think university admission should be based solely on merit and not on district basis or underprivileged quotas. Now, this is also for the politicians are playing, they have been playing with this. Students are selected on merit in the arts faculties. And actually they should extend it to all the faculties, because they all they all attend the same private tuition classes. Student registered at Nuwara just comes to Kandy to attend the tuition classes. So they all sit together, and finally you find the person from Nuwara with a very low mark can get into the university system. And also I think the Mahapola and other scholarships should be based on a loan system. You can give them even more money, but it should be based on they should be asked to pay it at the end of the thing. As Chula said, I also got a bank loan from the People's Bank at that time at Peradeniya. I think 1,000 rupees just to cover the thing, and I paid it soon after I got the job as assistant lecturer. So, okay. Then other thing, now this ragging especially produces graduates who have no personality, no independent thinking, and no tolerance to other points of view, opposing points of view. In fact, this was there was a seminar by a famous HR manager who came to Peradeniya and gave a talk. He said he doesn't usually recruit students from Sri Jayawardenapura, Ruhuna, and Peradeniya because there is severe ragging. And Colombo at that time, science faculty, I think ragging was minimal. So he would always prefer a student who is not involved in ragging, because ragging it's intolerant to other points of view, and that is not the person you want in the private sector. And also it produces students with no competence in soft skills. Now these political parties who manipulate ragging, you should know that ragging is a highly organized political activity. Earlier, I don't have to mention the parties involved, but all the rag leaders are trained in their safe houses by the former party I mean, former student activists, and they were told how to do this. And they are not allowed to even go for these English classes during the ragging period. And also they say not to talk to lecturers. I mean, this is a very serious matter which should receive some attention, because staff-student relationships are very important in promoting personality and confidence, and also the staff members can direct these students to jobs later on, and so on. And ragging promotes anti-establishment attitudes and therefore not suited for private sector employment. Now that is what the private sector says. Okay. And I still go to the university and teach some courses. I find that laboratories are complaining they don't have any chemicals to do the testing. Like in a chemistry laboratory, you need a lot of consumables. They don't have any chemicals, so they have to cut down on some of the practicals they did earlier. I went to the library and it doesn't have a single book purchased after about for the past 3 to 4 years. Not a single book. Can you imagine? Of course, people can argue that you can use internet and so on. And of course, if there are no chemicals, no equipment for practicals. And research allowance also for academics is now paid on very flimsy grounds. You just have to write something and that you are doing something, but not only at least your previous results. And as a result, lecturers are happy with what they get. They get a fairly high salary. And I think this is maybe Deepthi can put into her framework for how the academic promotions are and so on. Now, again, I think somebody talked about the UGC marking schemes. You don't need a single publication to become a professor. You can have 100 abstracts and then become a professor. So this is the unfortunate situation. And also, and the UGC chairman is appointed by based on political grounds. Vice chancellors are appointed based on their political affiliation. So what more can you expect from our universities other than just to they are there to satisfy their political masters? That's all. And I think these things may sound very trivial and very maybe childish, but these are things which require urgent attention from authorities or the academic community and the general public. Okay, thank you, Chula, for this. I'll stop here.
Oliver, you just highlighted most important bits of things as well. And I'm very glad that these things are coming to surface. And I must actually tell examples of how this ragging tries to damage all the traditions. Say the rag leaders take all the data from students on the first day. So somebody develops a database. Then they will have various things to be done. And most of the things, even they say 100,000 sentences, some students are expected to write. They're all designed to really break the traditions. I mean, you're talking about talking to lecturers. They are kind of trained not even to talk to parents. That's the kind of thing that's being promoted. So it's a organized crime that is happening in ragging, and that is politically funded. That's the issue you have. So
Yes.
that's why we have this major problem of not being able to get it sorted out. So you highlighted all these things, and there are two people who raised hands, but I say that if you have any ideas how to resolve it, very small sentence, whatever, please send it to me by email, because we are going to take it up again in 2 weeks' time. And I'll try to put it to some kind of a draft so that we can improve on it next time round as well. And yes, Dharme, you can talk here.
Thank you, Chula. In fact, before I came to this meeting, I made 3 points to make. In fact, you and Oliver mentioned, my first point was on this sad and ugly ragging. In fact, our political system and the administration system in universities completely failed. Why can't we stop this? In UK universities, through my children, I know that when they go to the university, from the senior batches, they appoint a brother and sister. So that person those two people will look after that child. They enjoy it. And also another university appoint mother and father. They are from the senior batches. So when the university students come, they come with different problems, homesickness, financial problems. In addition to that, this ugly ragging completely ruin our situation. We need to get rid of this. That is number one. In addition to that, what we need to do is get these students into social development projects, involve them in these projects during the scheme. That is how we can get the head, heart, and hands work together. And I can give you one example. When I started Solar Village project in 2008, pilot project, Professor Krishan Deheragoda came with 85 final year students from Sri Jayawardenapura. They stayed 2 days, 2 nights in that area. They went to each house, they surveyed for their final year project, and they knew what is going with this project. And that way, we can produce graduates with social responsibility rather than poteguras. That is my point one. My point two is, I sit in 2 or 3 editorial meetings, and in these meetings, they always use publications from different countries. This is mainly on physical sciences area. I know in Sri Lanka, there are a lot of research going on in agriculture and medical sciences, but in physical sciences, research publications are very low. So we need to improve that. That is number one. I think Oliver mentioned some reasons why. My number 3 is, there was a new Commonwealth scholarship scheme came up only about 4 years ago. It is called Queen Elizabeth Commonwealth Scholarships. These are only for MSc, 2-year MScs. Commonwealth countries give scholarships to each other. In fact, all these 4 years, I am in the selection panel. I have only seen Colombo and Sri Jayawardenapura in this scheme. I have seen only 2 students come into these 2 universities. We mentioned about we need international students. I don't see any applications from Sri Lanka. So I wrote to every vice chancellor in Sri Lankan universities, but still no applications coming. So this kind of, if you look at Peradeniya is the 10th most beautiful university in the world. We should be able to attract a lot of students to study there. The only thing is you have to waive 20% of the tuition fee. That is the Commonwealth contribution from the host university. It pays 80% of the tuition fees and also the living cost. This is a good attraction of hard cash to the country. I think we need to work together. the response is very low. Everybody, the administration and the academic staff members should encourage our students to apply for these scholarships, to go outside, and also if they are in the scheme, they can attract other international students. Thank you. Thank you, Chula.
Yeah, thank you for that summary about your experiences. And in fact, on that end, the commitment to advertise these and let the students know or staff know is very limited, unfortunately. I mean, you just have to search everything yourself, basically, if you want something. So Kapila has raised hand as well. Kapila.
First, let me thank Deepti and Professor Leteruma for their excellent presentations. And I want to take up something which Professor Leteruma raised. That is that university administration cannot do much and they are not doing it. I will tell you the reason. Most of the time when the victim comes and makes a complaint, after some time they withdraw the complaint because they have been harassed or whatever it is. They get, probably the fear is driven into them and they withdraw the complaint and you cannot proceed with an inquiry. That is one of the problems the university administration faces. And I will tell you another example where 7 students from the engineering faculty were suspended on this ragging issue. And then the dean comes and says, be lenient. And what can the vice chancellor do? You see, these are the problems. I mean, it's very easy to say stop ragging. I would rather say that the staff should get more involved, and you have to develop rapport with the students. And most of the time, staff is not there in the offices. So how can they develop any rapport with the students? I mean, let us be realistic. Some of the lecturers think, I mean, they have already forgotten their student days. They think they have become lecturers without any other studentships. So I think somehow or other this staff-student relationship will have to be improved. I don't know how to do that. I have done that. As a result, I could very easily discuss with the students and solve problems. You see, the part of the thing is that the academic staff rather shy away from their responsibilities. It's not only a question of just teaching 1 hour lecture or 2 hour lectures. It's a question of, moving with the students and forming their character. I mean, this is a responsibility for the academic staff.
Yeah, you are right, Kapila. I mean, it's the accountability of staff. And for example, if say 30% of your student population fail, then the accountability has to go back to the staff, because in a foreign university sense, what it says, you have not completed the learning curve that is required to finish the examination. So the blame goes back to the staff. So that kind of accountability is not there in our system. That's one of the issues, I think, is preventing this kind of improved relationship between students and staff. So there are lots of things that can be done. Any other things that people want to say?
Dr. Chirunanda, can I take 2 minutes?
Yeah, please.
Right. Actually, we have to thank Professor Deepti and Professor Ilivano for giving a lot of points about the academic side of the university education and administration. But I think there was some talk about the ragging. Actually, this is what I have written a letter to the Vice Chancellor about 10 years ago to take some action to stop ragging in the university or to regulate it. What I suggested was, I suggested to call junior, the freshers, about 1 month before the university starting date, and I asked him to make the seniors out of bounds for 1 month. And I requested Vice Chancellor to make the students, freshers, familiarized to the area, because in Peradeniya, I have got experience. In Peradeniya, when I was taken to the Marcus Fernando for ragging, I couldn't find my way to Peradeniya Junction to go home because the area was not familiar, very, very complex. So actually, first of all, I think the freshers must be made familiarized to the area of any university, Peradeniya especially, but other universities also. Once they come into the university in the first place, first visit, the area is actually complex. So I think, I don't know if this is possible, Professor Lakshman Sanage and those people who are working in the industry might know whether it is possible. My request I made was to admit the freshers about 1 month before the due date and make the students familiarize to the area. Then he will within one month of it, they will also become some senior people, and even the political parties cannot disturb them because they become 1 year senior in the university area. So that's I suggested, but I don't know if the Vice Chancellor has taken any action. Thank you, Dr. Chula.
Yeah, since you mentioned about the anatomy of introduction to university students in 2008, I actually, with several other people, wrote a university handbook for students. And this was, I submitted to Commonwealth and actually was awarded the best PR publication in Commonwealth universities for 2007-2008. I wrote the plaque back and gave it to the Vice Chancellor. Unfortunately, he did not want to promote that at all. He never even mentioned that anywhere. So this is the kind of opposition you get in the same system. When somebody does something that is recognized elsewhere, is not really recognized within. So you do have internal issues as well. I mean, and we were mentioning about ragging, not only ragging, criminality within the university. I mean, once we had a student who had stabbed another student, not in the chest, but in the hand. And then our argument was that this is a criminal act. We needs to be, taken into light. But unfortunately, not many wanted to surface it. So you got a person who's got stabbing intentions qualifying as a doctor. And I also remember about when we were talking about Z scores we talked about, we had a student who had a Z score of 0.9, when even 1.8 could not get into the university based on the district basis. And he failed 10 years, and 10 years is the maximum you'll allow for training in the university for medicine. And then he wanted to get an extension and went to politically, and then I was sent a letter at that time. And then we refused. And then the second time round, because his academia was getting poorer and poorer, and second time round, I got a letter from the president asking him to be extended. I replied just simple saying, we don't produce doctors to kill patients. And that's the simple reply I sent. Thereafter, we didn't have any problem. But then taking that kind of stand today is a threat sometimes to your own self. So this is the kind of thing that's happening there. So I thought I'd tell you a couple of stories so people understand the reality. Thank you very much. And can I please ask you to send any documentation, any thinking, anything to put university education right in Sri Lanka, both in the quantity and quality, and any kind of ideas to me, just as a simple email or any documents you published or anything you have, so that I can put it all together. And I'm sure Deepthi and Oliver will help me to try and improve it to become a kind of a plan or a blueprint where we'll be able to produce as something we can publish so that the masses will get to know, at least so that we can promote something. So please do send anything you have, and we will meet in 2 weeks on the same subject again. Any other comments at the moment?
So can I come in just
Yes.
yeah. I'm Susantha.
Yes, Susantha, yes.
Yeah. Now, actually, in most of the discussions, they talk about humanities and social sciences and the kind of stepmotherly treatment that they are getting. So actually, can we just have 1 or 2 ideas about how they can just contribute towards the development of the country and also get their due recognition? Now, we know that actually most of the science subjects and engineering and medicine and everything, they have some kind of global relevance and also market application. But when you think of Sinhala, say, for example, Sinhala or history or any subjects like this, they don't contribute towards the national, what you call national development as such. So in that case, we are always talking, every day we are talking about this kind of discrepancy, this kind of discrimination against the humanities and social sciences. So is there any way of actually correcting this situation?
Can I, Chula, can I answer that question
yes,
partly?
Yeah.
I wanted to mention this. Now there are about 6,900 schools in Sri Lanka offering A-level. And out of this, only 1,900 schools offer sciences. Now, if you take, for example, India, over 70%, I think at least 70%, they go into sciences, technology, engineering, and so on. Now, it doesn't answer what Susanta was trying to, just tell us. Make our courses, just have a look at how US is doing it. Now, their courses are tailor-made to suit an industry or a profession. The arts courses, what I mean is arts course. So you have to think about innovative ways of making the arts courses more attractive so that they can fit into the society or employment. So in fact, this discrepancy in the sciences is really evident in Sri Lanka and very clear compared to even India. And India has progressed so much because they have promoted their education as a resource, human resource. And that is what we have to do to make solve this problem. Thank you. Okay.
Chula, can I say something?
Yes, please.
Actually,
Yes.
when I used to teach only the first years initially because they like the professor to teach them. And most of the time, what happens is most of the faculty is that an temporary assistant lecturer is teaching the first years. So this is one part of the problem. And during the first year, the students are very responsive. But after the second year only, they start having the effect of ragging. But when they come to the final year, when they start doing the research project with the staff, then their attitudes and everything changes. Only thing is, then it is too late to have that influence on the other students. You see, that is one part of the problem. Then second thing I wanted to say about this humanities and arts is that there was a time when arts faculty was the one that was bringing the name to the university, like during the time of Maname and all that kind of thing. Now today, what has happened to the arts faculty? I mean, they have not become creative at all. So it's a question of you can translate books, you can create plays, and there are so many things which they can contribute to society on their own. Only thing is, it's not happening.
Yeah, you are correct, Kapila. I mean, about 2-3 weeks ago, we talked about why carpentry is not a subject when people are trying to be so highly qualitative work outside and not even, talked about in the art. So basically redesigning the programs is the issue. Arts is a very important subject for national well-being. Deepthi, yes.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Professor Ilepuram and Professor Kapila Gunasekara was saying about the humanities programs. Actually, since I quite a bit of experience on developing curricula, I was requested to do some work for one of our universities. I don't want to tell the name just now, but this was for their Faculty of Social Science and Humanities. So I'm of course, not in that field, but I was giving them the principles of curriculum development to improve their programs. Now, just to take an example, in history, when these people were developing their history curriculum, what they said was, okay, we'll go 1850 සිට 1915 දක්වා ශ්‍රී ලංකාව. All right, okay. Then something 1760 සිට දක්වා Sri Lanka. Right, now this is one course, this is another course. Then I asked, okay, so fine. So what are you going to do with this course? So what is the outcome of this course? And it's very difficult for them to figure out what exactly they want out of such a course. So, history should not be just, this thing happened in this year and likewise and like. There must be something coming out of it. And at the moment, of course, we are on to this concept, which we call the outcome-based education. And therefore, I think for social science and humanities also, they can think of it that way as to when they come up with a course, what's it that they really want out of that course? So if they think on those lines, it'll be a bit easier for them to develop the curriculum. Now, I see that kind of stuff happening in like the Department of Economics and Statistics and so on, because they have a true relevance of what they're doing in economics to probably economic development of the country and so forth. But it's ironic that for many of us in the academic staff, training on curriculum development is not there. Right now, of course, there are a few lessons through the induction program for every probationer, but that's about it. But I think, this pedagogical understanding of how to develop a curriculum for your own discipline, I think will have to play a big role in any subject, not only social science and humanities, but they are mostly because for them, I have seen in the Faculty of Arts that the way that they do their program is quite different to what should actually be happening now. But why I'm inspired to do things for them is like when we were interviewing students in the Faculty of Arts, they came out with some really good options as to how their courses could be developed. So they have an idea. They have an idea as to where they want to go. And I think, if they, as many of you all said, if you want to like get the staff and students to think on certain lines, which has an even in a long-term impact on society, those should be identified first and then probably work backwards as to what your lesson outcomes should be in order to contribute to the final program outcome. So it's a bit of learning on curriculum development, but I think that would be a good investment.
Yeah, thank you, Deepthi. I mean, we've had a very good discussion about various areas that we can put right. And also we'll probably have to think how to get there as well. And since there are no other raised hands at the moment, but this will not be just limited to a discussion, and we'll take it up again in 2 weeks' time with some kind of abstract on what we have talked about today, so then we can improve on that and add further items as well into it. So I'll try to draft this document, and if you can please send any ideas that you have. So I'll try to log it into this common document, and then we will take it up from there. Thank you. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you.
I think hope will be a beginning for a new future, I hope. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't see you, but anyway, good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you for the opportunity, Tula.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, Lakshman. Saman, good night.
Thank you.
Dr. Chula, good night.
Thank you.